Welcome everybody to a new kind of segment that I'm trying out. This is for all of my patrons as well as my joined subscribers on my members, I think. I don't know what the actual term is on YouTube. This is just kind of like a little loose chat, a fireside chat with a friend of mine. And today on the channel, kicking us off on our inaugural flight, we've got Nathan from Nathan on Shuffle. Welcome to the channel. I guess welcome back.
Yes, always glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Always glad to have you on here. And today we're talking about Dream Theater, specifically their new album, Parasomnia. But I think we can also like just talk about, you know, anything Dream Theater. This is kind of going to be a Dream Theater show. So,
Cool.
yeah, I guess
Sounds fun.
first off, we already have our reviews, our separate reviews of this album out. But now that we've had it for a little bit longer, how has the album matured? How has it sat with you these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I've still been really loving it. It kind of just continues to grow on me personally. So, uh, just really love the sound and the vibe of it, and just these songs are memorable to me, and they keep like growing in my head. So I really am liking it still. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's one of the better albums they've done recently. So I'm really happy.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like this one more so than I think anything since Dramatic Turn of Events. Like the more I listen to it, the more I get out of it. Whereas like once, about a week or so with Distance Over Time and Views and the self-titled, it's like, okay, I know all these songs now. I don't really need to go back. But like I'm
Yeah.
finding things in this album that I didn't quite notice. Like each track afterwards, there's like that little lullaby version of like the main theme of the track. And I was just
Right.
like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't pick up on that the first time around. I just thought they were fun little interludes. Um, and that first track in the Arms of Morpheus, it was like, oh, these are themes from the tracks that will be in those little interludes. So it's like I love when a album does that, and it's kind of like that perfect prog album where it's like, oh, the more you listen to it, the more you discover about it.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I feel like has been missing in their last few albums is that kind
Hmm.
of thematic feel. And it feels like its own distinct album with a
Yeah.
certain style to it, all its own, rather than just kind of a collection of different songs that they've been working on.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've really been enjoying it, and I found that I've grown to appreciate that final track a lot more. Because like
Yeah.
I'll admit, when I first listened to the Shadow Man incident, I was like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I know we're never going to get a Change of Seasons. I know we're never going to get an Octavarium or 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence or like, those big, big epics. Um, but yeah, the first couple of times I'm like, that's it. Like, I don't want to say I wasted 19 minutes of my life, but like I wanted a little bit more. Like, where's that big crescendo? But I
Right.
think the more I'm listening to it, the more I'm really appreciating it, and I'm loving that ending piece and like the interplays between all the people. But and again, I love when a album when I first hear it isn't catching me or it's either like a disappointment and then the more I listen to it, the more I grow to appreciate it, and I end up loving it. That was like a lot of the classic '70s stuff, like Tales of Tropographic Ocean and Lamb, where I'm like,
Right.
oh, I don't know about these, but now they're some of my favorite records, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I think it's a grower of a record, and I'm not sure if it's Mike being back that kind of adds
Hmm.
that kind of an element where there's more Easter eggs, more things to like grab hold of and to continue to uncover themselves as you keep listening. Because I feel like that's the quality of kind of the pre-Mangini era albums, and so
Hmm.
cool to see that kind of return back and make it a more satisfying experience, like re-listening to it over and over.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was you or it was one of our other contemporaries, like Ian or somebody, that was saying like Mike Portnoy is a fan first, and
Yeah,
so he approaches an album for like the fans listening experience. He's like, what can we
exactly.
do to enhance the fans listener? We don't necessarily want to immediately give the fans what they want, but like I want to give them something to remember. I want them to be engaged and whatnot, rather than just let's see what kind of technical stuff we can do on the frets and on the keys and things like that.
Yeah,
Um, I feel like that's really what Mike adds, as well as like a very maybe not necessarily a very clear direction, but at least like I remember I had the special edition of Systematic Chaos where they were like, we're not doing a big concept record, but we have a guiding light for this record, and that is that it's going to be heavy. It's going to be
Right.
like, I think they even wanted to call it like NADS, like NAD for, I can't even remember what it stands for. But it's like that's what we want, and I feel like that's
Yeah.
kind of the energy that he brings into the studio is like this is the guiding light, and the guiding light for this one is dreaming and sleeping and all the sleep kind of disorders and whatnot. Is he's got that kind of like direction, so maybe not necessarily like a leader, but definitely like a visionary. Like that's where we want to go for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I mentioned it in my review that I do think that that's a big piece of what Mike brings to the table, his like fandom of just the listening experience of an album. He's
Hmm.
done all these YouTube videos showing off his vinyl collection. You could tell he's
Yeah.
just a big fan of the album format and music in general. And I
Hmm.
think he's really good at arranging albums to make for a satisfying full album experience for the listener. And I think he
Hmm.
did this a lot with all the Neil Morse records that he's been a part of
Absolutely.
too. Because
Yeah.
I feel that on the Neil Morse albums that he's able to bring that to the table a little bit better for
Hmm.
Neil Morse to make just that really satisfying front to back album listen.
Yeah. Yeah. If I can be completely honest, I felt like that was what was mainly missing for No Hill for a Climber. Like I still love that record from Neil from last year.
Yeah,
Like I love it. But like that's what it was kind of missing for me was that like that direction, that memorabilia, that fan engagement. Um Again, still a great record, but I'm like, oh,
right.
it's far and away from like was it Hopes and Fears, the one with the no, I'm thinking of it. What's
Innocence and Danger
Innocence and
or
Danger? That's the one. I'm
yeah.
like, I know it was a two word and it was like noun and noun or adjective and adjective. Um, yeah, I don't know. There was something like holding that whole, and even with all the Neil Morris band stuff, there was like that holdingness. There was something
Yeah.
holding it all together. Um, and yeah, that was definitely Mike being on the kit and being in the band with one of his voices. I was almost, and I shouldn't say I'm shocked that it's not released with it yet, but I wonder if either in special editions or in new records going forward, if they'll do what they did like Dream Theater with Portnoy, where they have like that secondary disc with all the covers, because they did that with Black
Oh yeah.
Clouds. And I
Right.
was like, oh, I thought they were going to do that with this one as well, but I guess it's like
Yeah.
baby steps going back into back into the fold.
Yeah, that would have been fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember loving that bonus disc for Black Clouds. Just
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if now that Portnoy is kind of like back in the band, if they're going to do um like tours where they open or close the set with like another album, like not one of their own, like they did back in like
Mhm.
the early 2000s with, I think they did what, Master of Puppets from Metallica, Dark Side of the Moon from not Dream Theater, from
Pink Floyd.
uh Pink Floyd. What other ones? I know they did Made in Japan from Deep Purple. Was it Number of the Beast from Iron Maiden? Um
Sounds right. I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because my dad and I were trying to collect them all, and we had the Deep Purple, the Dream Theater, the Metallica. I feel like there was a couple more that they did. But now being out, for so long, I wonder because I know a lot of the band are fans of like Muse and Queen and things like that, or
Uh-huh.
if they're just going to put out like that compilation album that they did with, I think there was a Who song, a Zeppelin song, a Yes song.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah, I
wonder if we're
remember
going to find. Yeah.
was it on the Change of Seasons where they do like a big
Oh yeah.
medley of all different prog songs? That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, and I think they even did like individual songs. Like I think they started with Elton John's "Funeral for a Friend," and
Yes, yeah.
trying to remember the other kind of like, because yeah, that's like the additional tracks that are on the Change of Seasons. Because it's like, okay, well, here's one track. Now we just need to add this record. We don't want to actually just release a single track.
Right.
Um, yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of like side projects they decide to do as a band, or if they're just gonna
Right.
tour this album, give it a couple of years, and then put out another one, kind of like what they were doing.
Yeah, it is interesting, yeah, to think about what they're going to do in the future now that
Hmm.
I think this was kind of the perfect first album for them to do back together. Like, I think it's exactly what you'd want to hear from Dream Theater. It helps point the direction of where they're going,
Yeah,
and it'll be interesting to see how they carry it forward from here. And I'm
yeah.
interested in Mike Portnoy, what he does, is he just focusing on Dream Theater? Is he
Hmm.
gonna continue to do stuff with Neil Morse eventually once kind of the first iteration of this new Dream Theater album kind of wears off, I guess.
Yeah,
Uh
I wouldn't be surprised if like he goes back and helps out Neil in the studio, and I don't think he's going to Morse Fest this year,
yeah,
but I wouldn't be surprised if he were to, help out at a Morse Fest in the future. Because like the two of them are such good friends, I can't imagine them not working together again.
right.
Um, what I
I
would
hope
love to
so.
see, yeah, I mean, that's my favorite musical relationship, right? It's like those two, and then Stephen Wilson and Michael Eckefelt. Like those two are my two
Yeah,
favorite like working duos. Um, I don't know if he will ever do it, but I would love to see if Neil Morse would come on and guest vocal on a Dream Theater record because Mike Portnoy's been doing the drums for him for so long.
that would be
Um,
cool. Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
idea.
just either as like harmonizations or like, you know, just something, right? Just to see if
Right.
he would come into the studio and help out.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. I'd be all into that for sure.
Same. Yeah, it's like I'm sold. I don't even care what it is. Let me see it. You know.
Yeah, I'm
Oh
all in.
boy, that's great. Yeah. So, in terms of like where this album fits in your own personal ranking of albums, I'm interested to find out like
Yeah.
where would this fit if you were to put these in like worst to best order? Which albums would this nestle between?
Yeah, I'm probably it's probably somewhere right smack dab in the middle of their catalog, I would
Hmm.
guess. Because it probably doesn't quite reach the heights of some of their classics, the ones that are just like classics and like really my favorite records, like Images and Words and Scenes from
Hmm.
Memory, 6 Degrees, even Train
Yeah.
of Thought, I think is probably a little bit tighter and better.
Yeah.
Um, I was thinking it would rank probably like sixth or seventh, probably close
Okay.
to like where I'd rank Black Clouds and Silver Linings,
Yeah.
and maybe uh yeah, somewhere maybe a Dramatic Turn of Events, which I actually like a lot, is probably pretty close as well. It's
Yeah.
kind of in that family of records to me.
Yeah, and honestly, that's exactly where I would have it. Like, I would put it right between Black Clouds and Dramatic Turn of Events. Like, I feel like those two records, even though they're very different in terms of quality, they're very similar. Like I like
Yeah.
them both about the same, and it kind of goes back and forth of which one I like more. And I feel like this is the middle child between the two. So if they're
Yeah.
going back and forth, this is the one that's kind of like right in the middle as the two are going back up and down, right? Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
would agree. And like it's not in my like my top tier, like within my top five or six. That still goes to like Scenes from Memory, Octavarium, Images and Words, Train of
yeah,
Thought, and 6 Degrees. Um, but it's also not in the lower tier where we would have like their self-titled and Distance Over Time and Views from the Top of the World and even like The Astonishing and whatnot.
right.
I know I basically just said the entire Mangini era, aware of that. Um, but like I would put like, when Dream and Day Unite also in there because there's some really fun moments in that. So it's like
Yeah,
as I wouldn't say middle of the road because that in itself seems like a knock against the record, but
right.
it's just because those other albums are just so good that this one is the, middle of the pack record.
Yeah, it speaks to the strength of their catalog that even their kind of mid-tier records are still pretty excellent records at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so yeah, yeah. Any other things that you want to bring to the table in terms of this record?
Um, let's see. I need
I know
to
I'm
think
putting you on
about
the spot here.
that. Yeah. Um, no, I think what's been interesting to me is kind of seeing kind of some positive, some negative opinions. Like even within our own little like friend
Yeah,
groups, some people
yeah,
haven't really liked the record quite as much, and it's been surprising to me. I mean, that's kind of I'm always positive about everything. That's kind of my
yeah.
persona,
That's why we
and
love you.
so
Yeah.
so I'm always a little bit confused when there's a lot of negativity or people just aren't connecting with something that I think is really great and really exciting. So that's
Mhm.
been interesting, me kind of coming to terms with people's criticisms of the album. Some people just flat out seemingly not liking it all that much or having
Mhm.
issues with it. So, but I'm pretty excited about it overall. I think, I think it improves upon most of the previous records, the Mangini era records, and gives a
Hmm.
bit more of a cohesive feel. I think I don't know, it just grabbed my ears a little bit better and proved more memorable. And it's interesting that not everyone feels that way, but obviously
Yeah.
everyone has their own opinions about it. But that was just
Yeah.
something I'm not sure how to frame it, but that's kind of
No,
something I've been thinking about.
absolutely. I think like the fan receptions and what I've seen not only on our review comment sections, but also just like, the discourse out there about this album and how fans are receiving it. It's not as polarizing, I think, as some of the other albums that they've
Sure.
dropped recently, like Views and Distance, and even The Astonishing. Um, it does seem like most people are in the warm to enjoying. I haven't seen a lot of like lukewarm things. Like there's not a whole lot of it's fine. I have
Right.
seen a small group of people either say it's just another Dream Theater record, they're just treading water, they're not doing anything new.
Yeah.
Um, but like I've only really seen maybe two or three. I can count on one hand,
Right.
how many people have come out and said like this was a bad record,
Right.
which at least for Views, The Astonishing, Distance Over Time, and their self-titled, I saw a lot more of people going like, "This is a bad record. What are they doing? What were they thinking?" Um, so it seems like those are a vocal minority compared to everybody else that's at the very least saying it's a good record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. And
Mm-hmm.
I was interested, like reading through the comments in my review. There were
Mm-hmm.
a couple people, not a lot, but a couple people thought I was a little harsh on the Mangini era, which I was kind
Yeah.
of thought it was cool to hear that there's some people who really love that era. I feel like
Yeah.
maybe it gets trashed on a little too much, perhaps. And I do like those records. I tried to return to listening to A View from the Top of the World and kind of
Mm-hmm.
preparation for the new album. And like, I really enjoy listening to it, even though a lot of the songs I'm like, oh, I kind of had forgotten about this song. I forgot
Yeah.
about this one. So, it's a fun record and it's still Dream Theater and they're
Yeah.
still doing their thing. But yeah, what elevates this record to me, not to say anything bad about those, is just it's more memorable,
Yeah.
catches my ear a little more. There's more layers to uncover that makes it more satisfying
Yeah.
for repeat listening, for me at least. So,
Oh, I'm the same way. Like, gun to my head, I couldn't tell you a single track that came off of Views or Distance Over Time, or like the only one I have for Distance Over Time is the title track because I'm like, okay, I know that there's a track and
yeah.
it's the long one, so I know that one. But like Distance Over Time, I think the only track that I remember from that is Viper King, and it's only
Oh yeah.
because I called it like, what did I call it? Like Vampire King in my review or something. Like I butchered and that's the only reason was because a lot of people called me out.
Okay.
It's like it's Viper King, like the Viper, like it's a car track. I'm like,
Right.
oh, okay, well, I will never forget that track title. But like when I listen to those records, like I do enjoy Distance Over
Yeah.
Time and I do enjoy Views from a Top of the World, but like I don't remember a thing. And I'll listen to it and be like, oh yeah, this is good music. But then once the album's over, it's like I haven't retained a single thing.
Yeah.
Um, where like the first time I heard Midnight Messiah, it's like I can hum half of this track already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me
That
it
was like a great memorable track for sure.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think that's kind of about it. I've been loving this. I know you've also been loving this.
For sure.
I it's so interesting. I have to put out a review for Pattern Seeking Animals this coming week because their album drops on Friday, and it's like, wait,
Yeah.
when do I have? How am I going to find time? Because all I want to do is listen to this Dream Theater record.
Yeah.
Nothing against Pattern Seeking Animals; it's a great record, but like I want to just keep listening to the Dream Theater record.
That's totally fair. Yeah.
You
I
know,
feel
so.
similarly. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, but thanks for coming on and chatting a little bit about Dream Theater today.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime. One of my
No.
favorite bands, so always happy to talk about them.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, these were the guys that really got me into the progressive metal scene and, you
Yeah,
know, anytime there's a new record, I'm always excited about it. So, yeah, if you
for
aren't
sure.
already following Nathan, I've left his channel down below. Go and check him out. Um, and I think, yeah, that's about it for today. Any last thing you wanted to mention to the viewer?
No, just thanks for having me and yeah, check out my channel if you haven't yet out there and yeah, just happy to be here. Happy to talk about this great music that's coming out.
Yeah, same, same. Well, thank you once again for coming on. I know we'll be doing this again soon. Until then, thank you all for watching and supporting me. For the first little bit, this is going to be a members only for the YouTube and a Patreon exclusive. So, you guys, if you're watching it before March, thank you for supporting me. And thank you all for watching. So, until next time, Notes and Nathan, we are out.